At a wedding we attended, my wife whispered to her friend that she'd still pick her ex over me. I said nothing, but I heard every word. Let me set the scene. We were at my cousin Mike's wedding last Saturday. Beautiful ceremony, open bar, the whole deal. My wife Lisa and I had been married 6 years. We were sitting at table 12 with her college friend Amanda and Amanda's husband Steve. Lisa thought she was being quiet when she leaned over to Amanda during the father-daughter dance. God, watching this makes me think about what could have been, Lisa whispered. You know, if I could do it again, I'd still pick Marcus over him. Marcus, her ex-boyfriend from college. The guy she dated for 3 years before we got together. I was sitting right there, maybe 2 feet away, but she thought the music was loud enough to cover her voice. It wasn't. I kept my face neutral and finished my drink. Didn't react, didn't confront her, just filed that information away and kept smiling. The rest of the wedding went normally. We danced, we drank, we made small talk with other guests. Lisa acted like nothing happened, laughed at my jokes, held my hand during the speeches, played the perfect wife. But I couldn't stop thinking about what she'd said. Sunday morning over coffee, I decided to test something. Great wedding yesterday, I said casually. Made me think about our own wedding day. Lisa smiled. Yeah, it was beautiful, though I have to say ours was better. Really? You don't have any regrets about how things turned out? She looked at me funny. Regrets? Like what? I don't know. Different choices, different people. Lisa reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Of course not. I married exactly who I was supposed to marry. The lie came so easily. She looked me right in the eyes and lied without hesitation. That told me everything I needed to know about where we stood. Over the next few weeks, I started paying closer attention to Lisa's behavior. Little things I'd overlooked before suddenly seemed significant. How she always seemed distracted when we talked. How she'd gotten secretive with her phone. How she'd started mentioning Amanda more often, needing to catch up with her old friend. 3 weeks after the wedding, Lisa announced Amanda was coming over for one of their girls' nights. Sounds fun, I said. I'll make myself scarce. You don't have to leave. We're just going to drink wine and gossip. Nah, you two should have privacy. I'll catch up on some work in the garage. That evening, I made a point of setting up my laptop in the garage workshop, which shares a wall with our kitchen. The previous owner had done cheap construction, and sound carried easily between the rooms. I discovered this years ago when our neighbor's dog kept me awake at night. Amanda arrived around 8 with wine. They started in the kitchen talking about work and mutual friends. Normal stuff. But as the wine kicked in, Amanda steered the conversation toward relationships. So how are things with you and David? Fine, same as always. That doesn't sound very enthusiastic. Lisa sighed. It's not that there's anything wrong. David's a good husband. He's responsible, he treats me well, he's stable. But sometimes I wonder if stable is enough. Like at Mike's wedding, watching him and Sarah, they looked so passionate about each other. When's the last time David and I felt that way? Marriage changes over time, Lisa. The passion thing doesn't last forever. I know that, but what if it was never really there to begin with? Amanda was quiet for a moment. What do you mean? I mean, what if I married David for the wrong reasons? What if I chose him because he was safe, not because I couldn't imagine my life without him? Are you thinking about someone else? Long pause. Sometimes I think about Marcus, about what might have happened if his parents hadn't interfered. Lisa, that was over 10 years ago. I know, but Marcus and I had something real, something intense. With David, it's always felt more like a partnership than a love story. They moved to the living room after that, and I couldn't make out the details anymore, but I'd heard enough. The wedding whisper wasn't just a moment of nostalgia. It was how she really felt about our marriage. Amanda left around 11. When Lisa came to bed, she was more affectionate than usual. Guilty conscience, probably. The next morning I called my lawyer, Tom Bradley. We'd worked together on business contracts, and I trusted him to be straight with me. Tom, I need to ask about divorce procedures, hypothetically. Nothing's hypothetical when you're asking your lawyer about divorce. What's the situation? My wife isn't happy in the marriage. She's not cheating, but she's emotionally checked out, still in love with her ex. Do you have any evidence of this? She admitted it to a friend. I overheard the conversation. That's tricky. Overheard conversations can be complicated in court, especially if you were deliberately eavesdropping. What if she admitted it directly to me? That would be much stronger. But David, are you sure you want to end the marriage? Have you considered counseling? I can't work on a marriage with someone who wishes they'd married someone else. Fair enough. If you decide to move forward, I'd recommend trying to get her to be honest about her feelings first. If she admits she wants out, we can do an amicable no-fault divorce. If she fights it, things get messy. Over the next month, I gave Lisa multiple opportunities to be honest. I brought up marriage counseling. I asked if she was happy. I suggested we take a romantic weekend trip. Every time she deflected or gave me superficial reassurances. Meanwhile, I started preparing for divorce quietly. Organized our financial records. Changed my direct deposit to a separate account. Made copies of important documents. If Lisa wanted to keep pretending everything was fine, I'd be ready when the facade finally cracked. The crack came in early November. Lisa mentioned Amanda was having people over for dinner. She invited both of us, Lisa said. Just a casual thing with a few couples. Sounds good. What I didn't know was that Amanda had been growing uncomfortable with Lisa's confessions. Apparently, their girls' nights had become Lisa's therapy sessions, and Amanda was tired of being the only one who knew how miserable Lisa was in her marriage. Steve told me this later. Amanda had been venting to him about feeling caught in the middle. She liked me, thought I was a good guy, and felt guilty knowing Lisa was essentially living a lie. When Lisa started talking about reaching out to Marcus on social media, Amanda decided something had to be done. The dinner party was Amanda's attempt at an intervention. She'd invited 2 other couples we'd socialized with before, thinking that a group setting might encourage Lisa to be more honest about her feelings. We arrived Friday night to find 6 other people already there. Amanda had made her famous lasagna and Steve was mixing drinks. Normal dinner party atmosphere. But about halfway through the meal, Amanda started steering the conversation toward marriage and honesty. Steve and I were just talking about this, she said. How do you handle it when your spouse isn't being completely honest about their feelings? The other couples shared their perspectives. Most agreed that small white lies were normal, but big issues should be discussed openly. What about you, Lisa? Amanda asked directly. Do you think spouses should share their doubts about the marriage? Lisa shifted uncomfortably. I think there's a difference between sharing concerns and just dumping every negative thought on your partner. But what if those thoughts are about the fundamental relationship? Amanda, what are you getting at? Amanda took a deep breath. I'm getting at the fact that you've spent the last 2 months telling me you're unhappy in your marriage and wish you'd made different choices, and I think David deserves to know that. The table went quiet. Everyone could sense something was about to blow up. Lisa's face went white. Amanda, don't. I'm sorry, but I can't keep pretending everything's fine when you've told me repeatedly that you think you married the wrong person. You're taking things out of context. Am I? Because 3 weeks ago you told me you were thinking about reaching out to Marcus on Facebook. Last week, you said you were considering what it would be like to be single again. Lisa looked around the table at all the staring faces, then back at Amanda. I can't believe you're doing this. I'm doing this because David is my friend too, and he doesn't deserve to be lied to. I could see Lisa starting to panic. Amanda, those were private conversations. And they should have been conversations with your husband, not with me. Steve tried to interrupt. Amanda, maybe this should be discussed privately. No, Amanda said. Lisa's had months to be honest with David. She's chosen not to be, so I'm choosing to be honest instead. Amanda looked directly at me. David, Lisa has been telling me for weeks that she thinks she made a mistake marrying you. She says you're a good man, but you're not the love of her life. She's been talking about contacting her ex-boyfriend Marcus, wondering what would have happened if they'd stayed together. Lisa stood up abruptly, tears starting to flow. Stop. Just stop. I won't stop, because this isn't fair to anyone. David deserves to know the truth, and you deserve to stop living a lie. Lisa looked at me with desperation in her eyes. David, she's exaggerating. Yes, I've had some doubts, but every married person has doubts sometimes. Doubts about whether you married the right person? I asked quietly. Lisa started, then stopped. She looked around the table at all the witnesses, then back at me. I don't know how to answer that. Sure you do. It's a yes or no question. Lisa sat back down, crying harder now. The other dinner guests were trying to pretend they weren't watching, but in a room that small there was no privacy. Yes, she whispered finally. Yes, sometimes I wonder if I married the right person. And Marcus? Are you planning to contact him? Lisa wiped her eyes. I looked at his Facebook page. I thought about reaching out, but I didn't. Because you decided not to, or because you haven't worked up the courage yet. Because I knew it was wrong. I leaned back in my chair. But you still wanted to. Yes. The room was completely silent. Even Amanda looked like she was regretting her intervention now that it was actually happening. Lisa, I said carefully, I appreciate you being honest, finally, but I can't stay married to someone who wishes they'd married someone else. David, wait. Just because I have doubts doesn't mean... It means exactly what it means. You think you married the wrong person. You're still in love with your ex. You've been lying to me about how you feel for months, maybe years. Lisa was crying steadily now. I do love you. But not the way you loved him. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. I stood up. I think we should go home and figure out how to handle this. Lisa nodded, still crying. We said awkward goodbyes to the other guests and drove home in complete silence. When we got to the house, Lisa went straight to the living room and curled up on the couch. I poured myself a drink and sat across from her. How long have you felt this way? I asked. I don't know. Maybe always, a little bit. But it got worse after we went to Mike's wedding. Watching him and Sarah, seeing how they looked at each other, it made me realize what was missing between us. Why didn't you tell me? What was I supposed to say? Hey honey, I think I married you for the wrong reasons, and I'm still in love with my ex-boyfriend? Yes, exactly that, because then we could have worked on it or ended it honestly, instead of you living a lie and making me live one too. Lisa looked at me through her tears. Would you have wanted to work on it if I'd told you I had feelings for Marcus? I thought about it honestly. I don't know. Maybe. But I would have wanted the chance to try instead of finding out this way. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am sorry. What do you want to do now? Lisa was quiet for a long time. I don't think there's any coming back from this. You'll never trust me again, and honestly, I don't know if I can stop wondering what if. So we get divorced. The next morning, Lisa packed a bag and went to stay with her sister while we figured out the logistics. I called Tom and told him we were ready to move forward with divorce proceedings. What changed? He asked. She finally told me the truth. How bad was it? She's been living a lie for 6 years. Still in love with her ex, considers me a mistake, has been thinking about contacting him. Ouch. At least she was honest about it. That should make the divorce straightforward. It did. Lisa didn't contest anything. We split assets 50-50, sold the house, and filed no-fault divorce. The whole process took 4 months. I heard through mutual friends that Lisa did reach out to Marcus after our divorce was final. Apparently he was married with kids and had no interest in rekindling their college romance. Lisa moved to another city and started over. Amanda and Steve invited me to dinner a few months after everything was settled. Amanda apologized for the way she'd handled things. I should have talked to Lisa privately first, she said. The dinner party thing was too dramatic. Maybe, I said, but it worked. I got the truth, even if it wasn't pretty. Are you angry with me? No. You were right. I deserved to know. Lisa never would have told me on her own. Steve raised his glass. To messy friends who tell the truth when it matters. To moving on, I replied. 6 months later, I met Jennifer at a work conference. She was recently divorced too, with 2 kids and no interest in pretending to be someone she wasn't. We took things slow, but from the first conversation, I could tell the difference. She looked at me the way Lisa had looked at Marcus in her memories. The way someone looks at you when you're their first choice, not their safe choice. After 27 years of marriage, I found a message thread she forgot to delete on her Facebook. It was with a man she slept with 3 months after our wedding. When I confronted her, she said, "That was so long ago. Why ruin everything now? I didn't yell, didn't argue, just packed a bag and left. 2 weeks later, she was sitting with our kids, trying to explain why Dad didn't come home. This is an interesting one. A story of a man who discovered his wife's betrayal after 27 years of marriage. Listen till the end and let me know what you think of his decision in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's strange how your whole life can change in a single moment. Not from something dramatic like a car crash or a health diagnosis, but from a simple mistake. A forgotten message thread on a Facebook account left open. I never thought I'd be posting here. At 58, I'm probably twice the age of most of you. But I need to get this off my chest. And my fishing buddies aren't exactly the heart-to-heart types. I'm sitting in a small rental apartment right now, surrounded by boxes I haven't bothered to unpack yet. The few pictures I brought are still face down in a drawer. Can't bear to look at them. 27 years of marriage, and it feels like I never knew her at all. Let me back up. I'm Frank, retired military, now working as a safety inspector for a construction company. My wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, Nancy, and I got married young. I was 24, she was 22. Had our first kid a year later, then 2 more spaced out over the next 5 years. We weren't perfect, but we were solid. At least that's what I thought. Our oldest just turned 26, middle one's 23, and our youngest is in her sophomore year of college. Good kids, all of them. I'd die for them. Which is why this is tearing me apart. It was a normal Tuesday. Nancy had gone to her book club, and I was paying bills at her desk. She always leaves her laptop open. She's terrible with passwords, so she just keeps Facebook logged in. I've never snooped before. Never had reason to. But as I was getting up, I accidentally bumped the mouse, and the screen came to life. That's when I saw it. A message thread with a name I didn't recognize. Alan Westmore. The preview showed, "Remember that weekend at the lake house? Never forgot how you." I shouldn't have clicked. But after 27 years, I thought I'd earned the right to know who the hell Alan was. The thread was recent, started about 6 months ago, but they were talking about something that happened a long time ago. So I scrolled up and read from the beginning. Nancy Palmer, is that really you? Alan, yes, it's me. Married name is Collier now. How are you? Can't believe I found you. Divorced, 2 kids in college. You? Still married to Frank. 3 kids, oldest is 26 now. Wow, so you got married right after. You know, ancient history. Not to me. Remember that weekend at the lake house? Never forgot how you felt in my arms. 3 days of heaven. My heart stopped. I checked the dates they were referring to. 3 months after our wedding. 3 months. I kept reading, my hands shaking. We were young and stupid. I was confused. Confused enough to spend 3 days in bed with me while your husband was away? Stop. I shouldn't even be talking to you. But you are. Ever wonder what would have happened if you'd left him then? When you said you were going to? When she said she was going to leave me? I had no memory of any rough patch 3 months into our marriage. No fights, no signs. We were newlyweds, for Christ's sake. There was more. Pages of it. Reminiscing. Flirting. Him asking if she was happy. Her saying happy enough. Him asking if she ever thought about him over the years. Her saying sometimes, when things were tough. Then the kicker. I'm going to be in town for business next month. We should get dinner. No, Alan, I can't. I'm married and I love my husband. Just as friends. Or old time's sake. I don't think that's a good idea. Some things are better left in the past. That was 2 weeks ago. I should have felt relief at her response, but all I could think about was the affair she'd hidden for 27 years. I sat there for 2 hours, reading and rereading. I felt physical pain, like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed. 27 years. 3 kids, a life built on what I thought was solid ground. I heard her car pull into the driveway, closed the laptop, went upstairs and sat on the edge of our bed, the bed we'd shared for almost 3 decades. I could hear her moving around downstairs, putting away her things, humming some tune from the radio. She came upstairs, surprised to find me just sitting there. Frank? Everything okay? I looked up at her. This woman I'd built a life with, raised children with, the face I'd woken up to for 9,855 days. Who's Alan Westmore? Her face changed instantly. The color drained away. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. How do you? You left Facebook open. I saw everything, Nancy. The lake house. 3 months after our wedding, when you supposedly went to visit your sister. She sat down heavily on the chair across from the bed. For a moment she looked like she might deny it, but then her shoulders slumped. Frank, that was so long ago. Why ruin everything now? Not I'm sorry, not I made a terrible mistake. But why ruin everything now, like I was the one doing the destroying? Did you sleep with him tonight? Is that where you really were? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Nancy's eyes widened in shock. What? No, book club, like I said, she insisted. Since then, I never. I saw he asked you to dinner next month, I said. She looked away. I told him no. I said I couldn't. I saw that, but it doesn't change what happened back then, I said. Silence. The kind that fills a room, gets in your lungs. Why, Nancy? 3 months in. We were happy, weren't we? She still wouldn't look at me. It was stupid. I was young, scared by how permanent everything suddenly felt. He was from before, from college. It didn't mean anything. 3 days, Nancy. You spent 3 days with him. And then I came home. I chose you, Frank. I've chosen you every day for 27 years since then. Did you? Or did you just stay because it was easier? She started crying then. Big, heaving sobs. Told me she loved me, that it was one mistake in an otherwise faithful marriage, that she'd spent 27 years making up for it. I just felt empty. All those years, all those moments I thought were pure. Our first apartment, the birth of our kids, family vacations, Sunday mornings making pancakes. All of it now filtered through this new knowledge. While I was building a life with her, she was carrying this secret. And who knows what others? Were there others, Nancy? No. God, no. Just that one time. Please, Frank, we can work through this. We can go to counseling. But all I could think about was that message. When you said you were going to leave him then, she had considered leaving me. 3 months in. For him. I didn't yell, didn't throw things. I just got up, went to the closet, and pulled out my old military duffel. Started putting clothes in it. What are you doing? Her voice was small, frightened. I need some time to think. Frank, please, it was 27 years ago. We have a life together, kids, memories. Don't throw that away over one mistake. I zipped the bag closed and looked at her. Really looked at her. You already did that, Nancy. 27 years ago. I walked out. Drove around for hours. Ended up at a motel off the highway. Sat on the edge of the bed with my head in my hands until dawn broke. Called in sick to work the next day, and the day after. On the 3rd day, I found a short-term rental apartment. Signed a 6-month lease. Not sure what I'll do after that. The kids started calling almost immediately. Nancy had told them we were taking a break. That we'd had a disagreement. I couldn't bear to tell them the truth. Not yet. So I said the same. Just need some time apart, some space to think. My oldest, Mark, knew there was more to it. Dad, what's really going on? Mom's a mess, and you've never spent a night away from home in my entire life. I almost told him. But then I thought about how it would change his perception of his mother forever. I wasn't ready to do that. Not until I figured out what I was doing myself. 2 weeks passed. I went through the motions at work. Came back to my empty apartment. Stared at the walls. Nancy called and texted constantly, begging me to come home, to talk, to give her a chance to make it right. How do you make right a lie that's lasted 27 years? Yesterday, our youngest, Emma, called in tears. She'd come home from college for the weekend, expecting everything to be normal. Instead, she found her mother unable to function, her father gone. Dad, Mom's sitting us all down tonight to explain what's happening. Says she needs to tell us the truth. I'm scared. What's going on? I closed my eyes, pictured them all sitting in our living room. Nancy trying to explain. The kids confused, hurt. It should be me there too. Whatever happens, we should face it together as parents. But I couldn't do it. Couldn't sit there and watch her try to minimize what she'd done. Or worse, see my children look at me with pity. The poor fool who didn't know for 27 years. Your mother needs to tell you her truth, Emma. And then, if you want, you can call me, and I'll tell you mine. Last night, around 8 p.m., my phone started blowing up. First Emma, then Mark, then James, our middle child. Text messages, voicemails, their voices ranging from confused to angry to broken. Emma, Dad, is this true? Mom cheated right after you got married? Why didn't you ever say anything? Dad, call me. This is messed up. Mark, I need to talk to you. Not sure what to believe right now. Nancy had told them everything. Well, her version of everything. That she'd made a terrible mistake as a young, scared newlywed. That she'd spent every day since then being the best wife and mother she could be. That she'd confessed to me recently, hoping for forgiveness, and I'd walked out. That wasn't true. She hadn't confessed. I'd discovered it, and it wasn't recent. It was 2 weeks ago, 27 years too late. I called Emma back first. She was crying. Dad, why didn't you come home? Why aren't you here? I needed space, sweetheart. To think, to process. But Mom's sorry. She made a mistake when she was young. People make mistakes. Even my daughter defending her. I felt a surge of anger, then pushed it down. This wasn't Emma's fault. Some mistakes change everything, Em. This isn't something I can just get over. But it was so long ago. It wasn't long ago for me. For me, it just happened 2 weeks ago. She was quiet then. Finally, she said, "Are you coming back?" I didn't know how to answer that. Part of me wanted to. To go back to my house, my life. To pretend I never saw those messages. But another part knew I could never unsee them. Never unfeel this betrayal. I don't know, Em. I really don't. Mark called next. He was angry, but not at me, at his mother. She's been living a lie our whole lives. How are we supposed to trust anything she says now? Mark, your mother loves you. That's real. Don't doubt that. But she didn't love you. Not enough to be faithful. Not enough to tell the truth. I rubbed my forehead, feeling a headache coming on. It's complicated, son. No, it's not. It's pretty simple. She cheated, lied about it for almost 3 decades, and now wants everyone to forgive and forget because it was so long ago. That's bullshit. I didn't disagree, but I also didn't want my kids hating their mother. Whatever happened between us, she was still their mom. James texted that he needed time to process before talking. He's always been the quiet one. Processes things internally. Nancy called around midnight. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. You turned our kids against me. Her voice was thick with tears and what sounded like alcohol. I did no such thing. You did that yourself when you cheated 3 months into our marriage, then lied about it for 27 years. I was going to tell you about the messages, about Alan contacting me. I just hadn't found the right time. Were you going to tell me about the lake house too? About considering leaving me back then? Or just about the recent messages? Silence. That's what I thought. So that's it? 27 years just over because of one mistake? I sighed, suddenly feeling every one of my 58 years. Nancy, it's not just the affair, it's the lies. It's that I'll never know if you stayed because you loved me or because it was the easier choice. It's that everything I thought was real might not be. It was real, Frank. All of it. The kids, the life we built, that was all real. Maybe, but it was built on a foundation of sand, and now it's washing away. After I hung up, I sat in my empty apartment for a long time, thinking about the life I'd had, the life I thought I had, the life ahead of me now. This morning, I called my lawyer, started the divorce process. It feels surreal typing those words. Divorce. At 58, starting over. The kids are torn up. Nancy's a wreck, according to Emma. Part of me feels guilty for that, for blowing up our family over something that happened so long ago. But then I remember her words. Why ruin everything now? Like the truth doesn't matter, like my feelings don't matter. Like I'm supposed to just swallow this betrayal because it's inconvenient to address it now. I can't do that. I won't. So here I sit, in this half-empty apartment, wondering what comes next. I know I'll be okay eventually. The kids will be okay too. They're adults, they'll process this and move forward. As for Nancy, I don't know. Part of me will always love her. She's the mother of my children. We shared a life together. But I can't go back. Some bells can't be unrung. Some wounds don't heal. If there's a lesson here, maybe it's this. The truth always finds its way to the surface. Always. It might take 27 years, but it will emerge. And when it does, it changes everything. I don't know what the future holds. But for the first time in 27 years, at least it will be built on truth. I can't believe I have to sleep with him just to keep getting his money, my wife told her friend, not realizing our security camera caught everything. I didn't confront her, just sent the footage to our family lawyer. She found out I knew when she was served divorce papers at her parents' anniversary party. She's been calling me non-stop ever since. Strange how 15 years of marriage can evaporate in 20 seconds of unguarded conversation. One moment you're a happily married man with the life you've worked for, and the next, you're a wallet with a pulse. Names changes for obvious reasons. I'm James, 47, CEO of a commercial construction company I built from scratch over 20 years. My soon-to-be ex-wife Rose is 45, hasn't worked since before we married. We have 2 kids, Megan, 19, away at college, and Ryan, 17, finishing high school. When I met Rose, she was a paralegal with ambition. After we married, she decided she preferred being a full-time mother, and later a household manager. I supported her choice. We could afford it, and I wanted her to be happy. 8 weeks ago, I was in my home office reviewing footage from our security cameras, not something I normally do, but we'd had a package stolen from our front porch, and I wanted to see if the cameras caught anything useful. I was checking the interior camera in the kitchen when I saw Rose and her friend Melissa sitting at the island, drinking wine. "This vacation will be amazing," Rose was saying. "James thinks it's next month, but I've pushed it to September. Told him it's because of the weather, but really I just need more time at the spa first." Melissa laughed. "Getting all beautified for the beach? He'll appreciate that." Rose's response froze me in place. "Please, I can't believe I have to sleep with him just to keep getting his money. It's exhausting maintaining this charade. You know we haven't had sex in 3 months before last week?" Then he starts talking about reconnecting, and I had to give in, nearly gagged the whole time. Melissa's eyes widened. "Rose, that's cold. It's business. I've invested 15 years in this arrangement. 3 more until Ryan finishes college. Then I can cash out with half of everything. The prenup expires on our 20th anniversary." "And then what? Divorce?" Rose sipped her wine. "Exactly. I've already got multiple accounts he doesn't know about. Been siphoning money for years. Once the prenup expires, I'll take half his company, half the properties, and the house. He can keep his boat and his pride." Melissa looked uncomfortable. "Does he suspect anything?" "James? God, no. He's so focused on his precious business and being the provider. It's pathetic how easy he is to manipulate. Last week I mentioned admiring Jennifer's diamond bracelet, and guess what appeared on my nightstand the next day? Men are so simple." They laughed, and then the conversation shifted to their upcoming spa day. I sat there, staring at my monitor, long after they'd left the kitchen. 15 years of marriage, reduced to an arrangement. The mother of my children, plotting to cash out like our life together was some long-term investment strategy. I didn't yell, didn't throw things, didn't storm downstairs to confront her. Instead, I backed up the video file to a secure cloud server, then closed my laptop and went to take a shower. Needed to think. Rose and I had a prenuptial agreement that would indeed expire on our 20th anniversary, something her lawyer had insisted on during negotiations. I'd agreed because at the time, I couldn't imagine not being with Rose forever. Naive. The prenup had specific clauses regarding financial transparency and fidelity. The language clearly stated that any deliberate concealment of assets or actions taken in bad faith against the financial interests of the other party would constitute a breach. It didn't require physical infidelity. Financial betrayal was explicitly covered. The video wasn't just damning morally, it was legally actionable proof of Rose violating our prenup. That night, I kissed Rose goodbye as she left for book club, which I now suspected was something else entirely, and started making calls. First to Sam Wright, my personal attorney who had handled the prenup, explained the situation, sent him the video, and asked for options. Second, to Michael Chen, my company's CFO and most trusted employee. Asked for a complete audit of all personal and business accounts Rose might have access to, directly or indirectly. Third, to Garrett Bell, a private investigator recommended by Sam, his specialty? Asset searches and surveillance. For the next 6 weeks, I lived 2 lives. In one, I was the same James, attentive husband, devoted father, busy CEO. I brought Rose flowers, took her shopping, made love to her, fighting revulsion the entire time, knowing she was gagging. I deliberately mentioned business successes, left financial statements visible, created the illusion of increasing wealth. In my other life, I was methodically untangling Rose from my future. What I discovered was worse than I'd imagined. The multiple accounts Rose mentioned? 3 separate accounts in 2 different banks, containing just over $440,000, all transferred in small amounts from our joint account over the years. Money that had been taxed once as business income that I'd then given to Rose for household expenses. The investigator found these by tracking transfers from our joint accounts and cross-referencing with her tax records, which revealed unreported interest income. Her book club was indeed a cover, not for an affair, but for consultations with a divorce attorney, Karen Elliott, known for aggressive tactics against high-net-worth husbands. Rose had been meeting with her monthly for over a year. Most disturbing, we discovered Rose had installed spyware on my home office computer and placed a recording device in my desk drawer, capturing my private conversations with business partners about company valuation and upcoming deals. In our state, recording conversations without consent of all parties is illegal. We found the software during a security audit of my systems and the physical device during a sweep of my office, conducted discreetly while Rose was at her spa day. Thanks to my company's success, we lived very well, but not extravagantly. Our house was worth about $1.8 million, we had investment properties producing income, and my company was valued at roughly $16 million. Rose was plotting to take about $9 million in assets, plus ongoing support. But Rose had made critical mistakes. First, she'd discussed her plans where she could be recorded. Second, she'd hidden assets, a clear violation of financial disclosure requirements in our state and explicitly prohibited in our prenup. Third, she'd illegally recorded private business conversations without consent, a criminal violation in our jurisdiction. Working with Sam, I developed a strategy. We would wait, document everything, and strike when she least expected it. I made sure Rose believed her plan was working perfectly. Even suggested we should celebrate our 15th anniversary in style, perhaps at her parents' upcoming 40th anniversary celebration. She loved the idea. The party was set for their country club, a lavish affair with 120 guests. I'd already confirmed with the club management that legal papers could be served there. As a private venue with public access, there were no legal restrictions preventing service. I'd also arranged proper credentials for my attorney and the process server through Rose's father, under the pretense of ensuring proper security for all guests. Rose spent thousands on a new dress, professional makeup and hair. She was glowing as we arrived, playing the perfect daughter and wife. My gift to her parents was extravagant, a fully paid Mediterranean cruise. They were overwhelmed with gratitude, hugging me, calling me the son they never had. Rose beamed, basking in the reflected glory of her successful husband's generosity. At precisely 8:30 p.m., as dinner was being served, Karen Nelson, not Rose's lawyer but mine, entered the private dining room accompanied by a process server. They paused at the entrance, scanning the room. I excused myself to use the restroom, but instead met them at the door. "She's in the blue dress, center table," I said quietly, then stepped aside. I watched from near the bar as they approached Rose. Watched her face transition from confusion to shock to horror as she was served with divorce papers, financial injunctions, and notice of criminal complaints in front of her entire family and social circle. Her father, a retired judge, immediately recognized what was happening. I saw him ask for the papers, scan them, then look up at Rose with devastation in his eyes. Her mother began to cry. I didn't stay to witness the full meltdown, just nodded to Karen, retrieved my coat, and walked out. Rose's carefully crafted image, devoted wife, mother, daughter, shattered in an instant, replaced by the reality of who she truly was. My phone started ringing before I reached my car. Rose, then her father, then Rose again. I turned it off, checked into a hotel I'd already reserved, opened a bottle of scotch, and finally allowed myself to feel the grief of losing the life I thought I had. The next morning, I turned my phone back on to 47 missed calls and dozens of text messages from Rose. "James, please call me. This is a misunderstanding. You're destroying our family over nothing. Think about the kids." Her father had called twice, her mother 5 times. I responded only to them with a brief text. "Check your email. I've sent you the video and evidence of the hidden accounts and recording devices. Ask Rose about her plans for your son they never had." The legal battle was swift and decisive. Rose's hidden accounts were frozen. Her lawyer withdrew from the case after learning of the recorded evidence and illegal surveillance. The prenup's financial fidelity clause was triggered by the deliberate hiding of assets and the bad faith planning against my interests, exactly as the agreement specified. Rose tried everything: tearful apologies, angry accusations, attempts to turn the children against me. But I'd prepared for that too. The night before serving her, I'd sat down with Ryan and shown him a carefully edited version of the video that included her financial plans, but not the hurtful sexual comments. Megan flew home from college for a similar conversation. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but they deserved to know the truth before the chaos started. Both kids sided with me, devastated by their mother's calculated betrayal. Ryan asked to live with me full-time. Megan refused to speak to Rose for weeks. The divorce was finalized in near record time. Rose received a settlement aligned with the prenup's breach provisions, about 1/8 what she would have gotten after 20 years. No alimony, reduced child support since Ryan chose to live with me, and none of my business interests. She had to sell her portion of our investment properties to pay her legal fees. The secret accounts were deemed marital assets acquired through deception and divided accordingly, with penalties assessed against her share for the concealment. She kept her car, her jewelry, and personal items. I kept the house, my company, and my self-respect. It's been 6 months since that night at the country club. Rose moved into a small condo, had to get a job at a law firm, ironically as a paralegal again. She's still calling me, though less frequently now. The last message suggested we talk about reconciliation for the sake of the family. I didn't respond. Some betrayals can't be undone. Some wounds don't heal. Finding out your 15-year marriage was nothing but a long con changes you forever. Last week, I had dinner with Ryan and Megan. My son is thriving in his senior year, already accepted to his first-choice college. My daughter is doing well in school despite everything. They've both started speaking to their mother again, cautiously. I encourage this. She's still their mother, whatever else she might be. As for me, I've sold the house, too many memories, and bought a smaller place closer to my office. I'm dating casually, nothing serious. My company is growing faster than ever, now that I'm fully focused and no longer distracted by maintaining a sham marriage. Sometimes I wonder if Rose ever really loved me, or if it was always about the money. It doesn't matter now. What matters is that I discovered the truth before year 20, before she could cash out with half my life's work. The strangest part? I'm happier now than I've been in years. There's a certain freedom in having the illusions stripped away, in no longer performing for someone who sees you as an ATM rather than a husband. When people ask if I'm bitter about what happened, I tell them the truth. Gratitude has replaced anger. I'm grateful for that stolen package that led me to check the security footage. Grateful for the 20 seconds of honesty that saved me 5 more years of lies. And on the darkest days, I remind myself, it's better to be alone than to be with someone who has to gag to be with you. Edit. Wow, this blew up overnight. Thanks for the awards and support. Since many are asking similar questions, here are some answers. 1. Yes, I was able to legally record Rose in our home. Our state has clear laws about home security systems. We had visible cameras with posted notices throughout the house, and Rose was fully aware of their presence. There is no expectation of privacy in common areas of your own home when cameras are clearly disclosed. 2. Several asked why I didn't just quietly divorce her without the public scene. The answer is simple. Rose had been crafting a public image for years. She would have controlled the narrative, painted herself as the victim, and potentially turned many against me, including possibly our children. The public revelation ensured the truth was known immediately and undeniably. 3. For those suggesting I was harsh serving her at her parents' party, this was a calculated decision. Her parents had repeatedly pressured me about setting up Rose for the future, and I strongly suspected they knew about her plans. The video I sent them confirmed this. Her mother's subsequent texts included, "We never thought you would find out," rather than shock at Rose's behavior. Before, to clarify about the kids, both now know everything about the financial deception. Ryan, 17, watched the edited video showing her financial plans. For Megan, I described the content instead. Neither was shown the hurtful sexual comments. They didn't need that pain on top of everything else. My children are my priority, and despite Rose's actions, I never speak negatively about her to them. Number 5. Regarding how I found her secret accounts. The investigator traced transfers from our joint accounts, cross-referenced her tax returns which showed unreported interest income, and followed the money trail. Her statement on camera about having multiple accounts gave us the starting point, but the investigation uncovered the specifics. 6. For those calling me cold-blooded, when someone tells you who they are, believe them. Rose revealed her true self in that kitchen conversation. Everything that followed was simply me taking her at her word and acting accordingly. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about hurting someone else, it's about refusing to be hurt anymore. At dinner with her friends, she bragged while looking at me, "My loyalty has a price tag, and he couldn't afford it even if he tried." They all laughed. I just smiled. But weeks later, when she showed up begging for help, she froze at the door because someone else was already sitting beside me. The moment the words left her mouth, everything went silent in my head. Not the awkward silence that fills a room, but the quiet hum of a machine that has just been switched on. We were at one of those ridiculously overpriced restaurants, the kind with tasting menus and wine pairings that cost more than my first car. It was my girlfriend Jessica's birthday dinner. Her and her 3 best friends. I was just the guy paying the bill. Jessica was holding court as usual, a glass of champagne in one hand, gesturing dramatically with the other. Her friends, who were basically clones of her, were hanging on her every word. I was halfway through a piece of fish that tasted like nothing but cost a fortune when I heard her say it. She wasn't trying to be quiet. She wanted me to hear. She looked right at me, a smirk playing on her lips, and said to her friend, "My loyalty has a price tag, and he couldn't afford it even if he tried." Her friends erupted in laughter, that high-pitched fake cackle that means they're in on the joke. And the joke, I realized in that instant, was me. For the past year, I had been funding this lifestyle, the downtown condo, the leased luxury car, the designer clothes, the endless brunches. I run my own software development company. I do well, but I'm not an idiot with my money. I'm quiet about my success. I thought I was investing in a relationship, in a future with someone I cared about. She saw me as a walking ATM with insufficient funds. I didn't react. I didn't get angry. I didn't cause a scene. That's what she wanted. She wanted me to get defensive, to argue, to prove her wrong. She wanted drama to fuel her sense of importance. Instead, I just smiled. A calm, easy smile. I picked up my wine glass, raised it slightly in her direction as if toasting her clever remark, and took a sip. Her smirk faltered for a fraction of a second. My lack of reaction confused her. It was a move she hadn't calculated. The rest of the dinner was a blur. I was physically present, but my mind was elsewhere, running calculations, formulating a plan. I was a developer. I build systems, I find bugs, and I eliminate them. My relationship, I realized, was a system with a critical, terminal bug. It was time to decommission it. When the bill came, I paid it without a word. Over $1,000 for a meal, where I was the main course. On the car ride home, she was buzzing, high on the attention and the champagne. She tried to start a conversation about a trip to Monaco she wanted to take. I just nodded along, making non-committal sounds. She didn't notice. She was too wrapped up in her own world. When we got back to the condo, my condo, she went to get ready for bed. I went into my home office and closed the door. I didn't sleep that night. I opened my laptop and began methodically untangling my life from hers. It was like refactoring a messy piece of code. You have to be precise, careful, and remove every dependency until the bad code is completely isolated and can be deleted without crashing the whole system. She thought my loyalty was something to be bought. She was about to learn that my disloyalty was something she couldn't afford in her wildest dreams. She went to bed thinking she had all the power. She was about to find out what happens when a quiet man decides to get loud, not with his voice, but with his actions. The game wasn't about meeting her price tag anymore. It was about showing her the true cost of her betrayal. Update 1. It's been 2 weeks since the dinner party where my ex-girlfriend Jessica announced to the world that I was a budget she couldn't afford. For those 2 weeks, she's been living in a state of blissful ignorance, and I've been the busiest I've ever been. Thanks for the support on my first post. A lot of you predicted what was coming and you were right. This isn't about emotion. This is about logistics. The day after that dinner, I started making calls. My first was to my lawyer. I explained the situation. Jessica was living in my condo, which I own outright. She was not on the lease or the deed. She was driving a car leased in my name. I was paying the bill on a high-limit credit card she used as her personal slush fund. My lawyer, a no-nonsense guy named Ben, laid out the process clearly. We drafted a formal eviction notice giving her 30 days to vacate the premises, as required by law. It was sent via a process server to the condo the very next day. Jessica was home when it was delivered. She called me, laughing. "Did you seriously have someone serve me with a paper? Are you trying to be dramatic? This is hilarious." "It's not a joke, Jessica," I said calmly. "You have 30 days to find a new place to live." "You're bluffing," she said, the laughter gone from her voice. "You'd be lost without me." "That's a risk I'm willing to take," I replied, and then I hung up. Next, I called the leasing company for her car. I informed them that I would be making no further payments on the vehicle and that they should arrange to recover it from the registered address. They were surprisingly efficient. They told me that once a payment is missed, the recovery process begins within days. Then, I called the credit card company. I reported the card she used as lost and had it canceled immediately. I had a new one with a new number sent to my office. The account was in my name, so it was a simple process. The river of free money had just dried up. For the first week, she didn't seem to notice. She thought I was just throwing a tantrum. She was still going out, posting on social media about her fabulous life, probably using the last of the cash she had. The first sign of trouble for her came 5 days in. I got a string of angry texts. Her card had been declined at some boutique while she was shopping with her friends. The public humiliation was the worst part for her. She demanded I call the bank and fix it. I didn't reply. 2 days after that, the tow truck showed up for the car. I was at work, but my building's security cameras caught the whole thing. She came running out of the building, screaming at the driver, who calmly showed her the paperwork and winched her precious convertible onto the flatbed. The texts that followed were frantic. She was threatening to sue me, to ruin me, to tell everyone. Well, I'm not sure what she was going to tell them. That I had stopped paying for her life of luxury? This is where my plan moved to the next level. Jessica's entire career, her entire identity, was built on being a social media influencer in the luxury lifestyle space. An image I had been bankrolling. Her main rival was another influencer named Madison. Madison had better content and a more authentic following, but she didn't have the budget for the kind of high-end travel and shopping that Jessica flaunted. I did my research. I found out who Madison's agent was. I reached out, not as a scorned ex-boyfriend, but as the owner of a successful, growing tech company looking for a new marketing strategy. I proposed a partnership. My company would provide a substantial marketing budget for a 6-month campaign. This budget would be used for sponsored travel, luxury product placements, and high production value content. The budget I proposed was, to the dollar, the exact amount I had been spending on Jessica's entire lifestyle for the past year. Madison's agent was, to put it mildly, ecstatic. They drew up a contract within 48 hours. I had only one condition. The campaign had to launch immediately, and it had to be big. While Jessica was stuck at the condo, her car gone, her money cut off, Madison's social media exploded. A surprise first-class trip to Paris. A partnership with a major designer brand that had previously worked with Jessica. A stay in a 5-star hotel suite. Every post was a dagger, showcasing the exact life Jessica had just lost. And every post was tagged with my company's name, #sponsored by my company. The best part? This wasn't just revenge. It was a brilliant business move. My company develops high-end organizational software for creative professionals. Madison's audience of aspiring entrepreneurs and design-savvy followers was my exact target demographic. Our website traffic tripled in the first week. We got more qualified leads in a few days than we had in the previous 6 months. I had turned my personal liability into a profitable asset. Meanwhile, Jessica was trapped. Her friends, the ones who had laughed at me, were suddenly distant. They were social climbers. Now that Jessica was falling, they didn't want to be dragged down with her. Her social media went quiet. No new posts, no stories. Her followers started asking questions. Then they started noticing Madison's new campaign, sponsored by the company owned by Jessica's boyfriend. The narrative began to write itself in the comments sections. Her 30-day notice is up next week. She's been sending me desperate emails now, full of apologies and promises to change. She says she loves me, that she made a terrible mistake. But she's not sorry for what she did. She's sorry for what she lost. She saw our relationship as a transaction, and she's just now realizing she was on the losing end of the deal. She has no idea that the someone else who got her budget isn't a new girlfriend. It's her direct competition. The final phase of my plan is about to unfold. She thinks she can still salvage this. She thinks she can appeal to my emotions. She's about to find out that I don't have any left, at least not for her. Final update. It's over. The 30-day eviction period ended yesterday. For the last week of it, Jessica was a ghost in the condo. I had been staying at a hotel to avoid her, but I knew she was there, stewing in the silence. The frantic texts and emails had slowed to a trickle, then stopped completely. It was the silence before the final, desperate move. It came last night. I was at the condo, overseeing a cleaning crew I'd hired to scrub the place clean of the last year. I was in my home office when the buzzer rang. I knew it was her. I let her come up. I wanted to see this through to the end. When I opened the door, she looked like a stranger. The glamorous influencer was gone. She was wearing jeans and a simple t-shirt, her hair was pulled back, and her face was pale and tear-streaked. She wasn't holding a designer handbag. She was holding a cardboard box with a few of her remaining possessions. The smirk was gone. In its place was a look of pure, unadulterated desperation. "Can I just talk to you for a minute?" she asked, her voice cracking. I didn't invite her in. I just leaned against the doorframe. "You have 1 minute." She started with the apologies. She was sorry. She was stupid. She was insecure. She said the things people say when they've run out of options. She told me she loved me, that the last year was the best of her life, and she'd thrown it all away because she was listening to the wrong people. "I'll do anything to make it right," she pleaded. "I'll get a job. I'll pay you back. I don't care about the money or the trips. I just want you back." I listened without interrupting. When she was finished, the silence stretched out. "Are you done?" I asked. She nodded, looking hopeful. "You're right about one thing," I said. "You don't care about me. You care about what I provided. You had a good thing, and you put a price tag on it. You thought you could trade up. That's not a mistake. That's a business decision. And it was a bad one." Tears started streaming down her face. "But I have nowhere to go. My friends won't even answer my calls. My parents, they don't have room for me. I'm broke." "That sounds like a problem," I said, my voice flat. "But it's not my problem. Not anymore." I started to close the door, but she put her hand out to stop me. "Please," she whispered. "Isn't there anyone who can help me? Anyone you could call?" And that's when the final piece fell into place. From behind me, a voice said, "Is everything okay, Mark?" Jessica froze. Her eyes went wide as she looked past me into the living room. Sitting on my couch, a laptop open, was a woman she recognized instantly. It was Madison, her rival. Madison wasn't there as a date. She was there for a work meeting. We were going over the analytics from the first month of our marketing campaign, which were, by the way, phenomenal. She was dressed in a sharp, business-casual outfit, looking confident and successful. She was everything Jessica had tried to be. But she had done it with talent and hard work, not by being a parasite. The look on Jessica's face was something I will never forget. It was a horrifying cocktail of shock, humiliation, and finally, understanding. She wasn't just looking at her replacement. She was looking at the living embodiment of her failure. She saw the woman who was now living the life she'd thrown away, funded by the money she thought was hers, and doing it better and more profitably than she ever could. She saw that I hadn't replaced her with another girlfriend. I had replaced her with a valuable business asset. I had literally upgraded. She didn't say another word. She just stared at Madison, then back at me. The hope in her eyes died, replaced by a cold, hard emptiness. She finally understood. This was never about love or jealousy. It was a transaction. She had set the terms with her price tag comment, and I had simply closed the deal on my own terms. She slowly backed away from the door, turned, and walked down the hallway without looking back. I closed the door and locked it. I walked back into the living room. Madison looked at me, a question in her eyes. "Ex-girlfriend," I said. She just nodded, a small professional smile on her face. "Well, the new engagement numbers on the Paris campaign are in. I think you're going to be very happy." And she was right. I was. My business was thriving. My life was my own again. The bug had been removed from the system. I don't know where Jessica went, and I don't care to find out. She wanted a life she could afford. Now she has one. In today's Reddit story, "You're too weak to leave me," my wife sneered. After admitting she cheated, "You'd go broke paying me alimony." I just nodded, until the day she came home and found her bags packed, with a one-way ticket to her lover's house. I had always known that marriages go through ups and downs, but nothing could have prepared me for the moment my wife, Lauren, casually shattered everything. It was a Tuesday night, and I was just finishing up dinner when she decided to drop the bombshell. "I've been seeing someone else." She said it like she was telling me she bought a new pair of shoes. No remorse, no hesitation, not even the courtesy of an excuse. I put my bowl down, slowly processing what I had just heard. "You're joking," she laughed, swirling the wine in her glass. "Oh, don't act so shocked, you probably suspected it." She wasn't wrong. Something had felt off for months. Late nights at work, her phone always on silent, her sudden disinterest in intimacy, but suspecting it and hearing her admit it with zero shame were two completely different things. I leaned back, studying her expression. "And you're telling me this because?" She shrugged, completely unbothered. "Because I don't see the point in lying anymore. You're not gonna leave me." That statement hit harder than the confession itself. She wasn't just admitting to cheating, she was mocking me. She actually believed that no matter what she did, I'd stay right where I was, paying for everything like a fool. "Let's be real, babe. Even if you did leave, you'd still be paying me alimony. I'd get my cut either way." She grinned, like she had already won. "So really, I can do whatever I want." That was the moment I decided she was going to regret every single word. I should have blown up right there. I should have demanded answers, thrown accusations, screamed, but instead, I just nodded. That completely threw her off. She was expecting outrage, heartbreak, a fight. What she got instead was a husband who looked like he had just accepted his fate. And that's exactly what I needed her to believe. "I get it. I won't fight you on it." Her smile grew wider. "See, I knew you'd be reasonable about this." I stood up, grabbing my plate to wash it like it was just another normal evening. "If you're happy, that's what matters." She actually sighed in relief, like she had just dodged a bullet. What she didn't know? The bullet was still coming, and it was going to hit her harder than she ever imagined. From that moment on, I played my role perfectly. I didn't argue, I didn't cry, I didn't question her late nights. In fact, I encouraged them. "You should stay over at his place sometime. Give yourself space to figure things out." She thought I was just being pathetically understanding. But in reality, I was pushing her further and further away, getting her used to living outside of our home. Because when the time came for her to leave for good, I was going to make sure she never had the option to come back. The next few weeks were all about making her believe she was in control. I encouraged her to take on more financial responsibilities. I pushed her to advance in her career, claiming I wanted her to feel independent. I agreed to put some bills in her name so she could feel more empowered. She ate it up. "See? This is why I never worried about telling you. You're so easy to deal with." I just smiled. She had no idea she was signing away her entire financial future. Because while she thought she was securing herself a golden parachute, she was actually tying herself to a financial anchor. Over the next 2 months, I strategically pushed her closer to financial freedom. She got promoted. She took over our bills to feel responsible. She officially started spending more time at her lover's place than at home. And then one day, I made my final move. "You know, I think you deserve your own space." She blinked. "I mean, you're already spending so much time at his place. Maybe it's time you fully embraced it." I saw the moment she started considering it. I knew exactly how to push her over the edge. "You deserve to be happy without feeling guilty." And honestly, it's getting a little weird having you here, knowing you'd rather be somewhere else." She actually smiled, like I had just given her permission to be with him. "You're right." And just like that, she mentally checked out. She had no idea that she had just given me the perfect excuse to remove her permanently. For weeks, I had watched Lauren dig her own grave. She moved out voluntarily, spending almost every night at her lover's place. She signed financial documents without reading the fine print. She bragged to her friends about how she was going to walk away with everything. She still believed she had me trapped. But today, she was about to come home and realize that she had been living in a fantasy. Lauren had spent the past week on vacation with her lover, a trip funded entirely on her credit card, of course. I made sure she felt secure before making my final moves. I contacted my lawyer to finalize the divorce filing. I transferred the last bits of debt into her name. I prepared her exit package, her bags packed neatly by the door. When she finally arrived, she walked in like she still owned the place, but this time, her key didn't work. She frowned, confused, trying again. When that failed, she banged on the door. "Babe, what's going on? Let me in." I took my time. When I finally opened the door, I stood there calmly, arms crossed, a neutral expression on my face, and behind me, her neatly packed bags and a single envelope on top. Lauren scoffed at the sight of her bags. "What is this, some kind of joke?" I stepped aside, gesturing toward them. "No joke, you don't live here anymore," she blinked. For the first time in weeks, I saw genuine confusion cross her face. "What are you talking about? We haven't even started the divorce yet." I picked up the envelope and handed it to her. "Actually, we have." She tore it open, her eyes scanning the first few lines. And then, her smirk disappeared. "You already filed?" "2 weeks ago." She staggered back, gripping the doorframe. But we haven't even discussed alimony." I shrugged. "Oh, we won't need to, because you're not getting any." Her eyes shot up. "What? That's not possible." "Actually, it is." I watched as she frantically flipped through the papers, scanning for anything that gave her financial leverage. Then she reached the part about our financial status, and that's when she went pale. "Wait, your income is lower than mine?" "Yep, it has been for a while now." She shook her head in disbelief. No, you make 6 figures. There's no way." I pulled out another document. "Not anymore. My new job pays significantly less." She froze, gripping the papers. You did this on purpose." I smirked. "I just made some smart career choices." She flipped to the next page, and that's when it hit her. "Wait, why does it say, 'I'm the primary financial provider'?" I leaned against the doorframe. "Because you are." Her breath hitched. She flipped back and forth between the financial statements, the debt breakdown, and the mortgage details. And then she saw it. "Why is the mortgage under my name?" "You signed for it, remember? Better interest rates." She staggered backward, her hands trembling as she connected the dots. She had taken on all the debt. She had legally taken over financial responsibility, and I had quietly removed myself from all liability. She wasn't walking away with alimony. She was walking away bankrupt. She dropped the papers, chest heaving. This isn't fair," I shrugged. "Neither was cheating." She glanced at her bags, realization sinking in. "So that's it? You're just throwing me out?" I pointed at the final document in her hands. "I'm not throwing you anywhere. I already made arrangements." She blinked in confusion before slowly reading the final page, the rental agreement, the moving truck, the new address. This is his address," I smiled. "You said you wanted to be with him. Now you have no choice." Her jaw clenched. He doesn't want me living with him." I feigned shock. "Oh, that's awkward." She stared at me, furious, humiliated, completely unraveling. And that's when her phone rang. She glanced down at the screen, her lover's name flashing. I smirked. "I'd answer that if I were you. He probably just found out about the debt too." Her face crumpled. This was it. No alimony, no financial support, no stability, no options. She thought she had won. Instead, she was completely alone. Lauren was still standing at the door, clutching the divorce papers like they were a puzzle she couldn't solve. She kept flipping back and forth, trying to find something, anything, that gave her an advantage. "This doesn't make sense. There's no way you just walked away from this without paying me something." She was still too arrogant to understand what had happened. So for the first time, I decided to spell it out for her. I leaned against the doorframe and let the truth sink in. All right, let's go over this step by step. Maybe then you'll finally get it. Remember when I told you I was feeling burned out and wanted a less stressful job? That wasn't burnout. That was strategy. I watched as her face fell slightly. The moment you told me you were cheating and expected alimony, I knew I had to make sure you wouldn't qualify for it. So, I took a lower-paying job, with benefits instead of salary. That way, when I filed for divorce, my income on paper would be significantly lower than yours. But that doesn't matter. You used to make 6 figures. I shrugged. Used to. But alimony isn't based on what I used to make. It's based on what I make when I file for divorce. I could see the horror building in her eyes. By the time we step into that courtroom, you'll be the higher earner, not me. And guess what? I paused for effect. Judges don't make higher earners get alimony. They make them pay it. She opened her mouth to argue, but she couldn't, because she knew I was right. Then, I had to make sure the court saw you as financially independent. So I let you take over the bills. You insisted on being in charge of finances. I just encouraged it. I folded my arms, watching her brows knit together. You paid the rent. You handled the utilities. You managed the grocery shopping, all while I recovered from stress. You literally convinced yourself that you were running the household. Guess what? You were. And in court, that means you're financially independent, which means no alimony. And then there's the fun part, the debt. Her eyes snapped open. You told me those refinancing deals were smart investments. I smiled. They were. For me. You refinanced the mortgage, co-signed for loans, and maxed out credit cards. All because you thought I'd be paying you after the divorce. But I won't be paying you a dime. You're legally responsible for all of it. Her face turned ghost white. Oh, and one last thing. You moved out before we even filed. You don't live here anymore. You've been spending all your time with your real man. You weren't kicked out. You left on your own. I could see her connecting the final dots. She had no house, no money, no way to fight me in court. Lauren, this isn't happening. Oh, it's happening? Lauren staggered back, staring at the papers like they were evidence of her own stupidity. So, let's summarize, shall we? You make more money than me. You have full financial responsibility. You have all the debt in your name. And you moved out voluntarily. I leaned in slightly. And in court, that means you get nothing. She let out a strangled noise, hands shaking. This isn't fair. I chuckled. Oh, you're right about that, but not for the reason you think. I stepped back and gestured toward the sidewalk. Your ride should be here soon. Good luck with your new life. She whipped her head around, spotting the moving truck I had arranged. The truck that was about to take all her belongings to her lover's place. Her eyes widened in horror. You didn't. I just smirked. Oh, I did. You wanted to be with him, right? Well, now you have no choice. She spun back toward me, eyes burning with rage. You think this is over? I raised an eyebrow. Oh, I know it's over. That's what divorce is? Her face crumpled completely, and as she stood there, watching the movers take her life away, I turned and walked back into my house. My house. The one she thought she would take from me. But now, she had nothing. Lauren walked into the courtroom expecting a fight. She probably thought she'd beg for alimony, cry about maintaining her lifestyle, and guilt-trip the judge into siding with her. But instead, she sat there, completely silent, as my lawyer laid out the evidence. She moved out voluntarily. She earned more than me. She was financially independent. She was legally responsible for all debt. The judge barely even hesitated. Judge, Mrs. Lauren, based on the financial records, you do not qualify for alimony. Lauren went stiff. Furthermore, because you are financially stable, this court sees no reason to grant you additional compensation. That's when she snapped. Wait, no, that's not fair. She turned toward me, rage burning in her eyes. You planned this, you tricked me. I just sat there, calm and composed. The judge narrowed their eyes at her. Mrs. Lauren, this court does not grant alimony based on feelings. It grants it based on financial need. And based on your financial records, you are more than capable of sustaining yourself. Lauren collapsed back in her seat, completely defeated. She thought she had everything locked down. Instead, she was walking away with absolutely nothing. I signed the final divorce papers and walked out of that courtroom a free man. Lauren? She stormed after me, practically foaming at the mouth. You think you're so smart, don't you? I turned around slowly, staring at the woman who thought she had trapped me forever. Oh, I don't think I'm smart. I know I am. She gritted her teeth, trembling with frustration. You ruined me. I let out a small chuckle. No, Lauren, you ruined yourself. I just let you do it. She stood there frozen, unable to argue. Because she knew she had played herself. It's been a few months since the divorce, and let's just say, Lauren's not doing well. Her affair partner bailed the moment she became a financial burden. Her friends started distancing themselves after realizing she had no money. She had to move into a cheap apartment. And guess what? It's right next to a freeway. Meanwhile, I got promoted back into my high-paying position. I paid off my debts and rebuilt my savings, and I have absolutely no contact with Lauren. A week ago, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Lauren. I just wanted to talk. I miss you. Maybe we could meet up? I stared at my phone for a moment before smiling. I didn't even respond. I just blocked her number and went back to enjoying my new drama-free life. She thought she had me trapped forever. But in the end, she was the one left with nothing. In today's Reddit story, you're not even worth the hospital bill. My wife scoffed after I nearly died in an accident. Why should I waste my money on you? I just stayed quiet until she was the one in the ER and her insurance was canceled. I don't remember much about the accident itself. One moment, I was driving home from work, exhausted after another 10-hour shift. The next, there was a blinding flash of headlights, the screech of brakes, and a deafening crash. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed, barely able to move. 3 fractured ribs, a dislocated shoulder, a nasty concussion that made everything spin. I was lucky to be alive. At least that's what the doctors said. But when my wife, Stephanie, walked into the room, she didn't exactly look relieved. I blinked up at her, still groggy from the painkillers. Hey, I expected concern, maybe even a hug. Instead, she crossed her arms and sighed dramatically. So, how long is this gonna take? Because I don't have time to play nurse, Alex. I frowned. What? She rolled her eyes. Ugh, the bills, Alex. How much is this going to cost? I couldn't even process what I was hearing. I had almost died, and all she cared about was money. The doctor walked in, holding a clipboard. Mr. Carter, we'll need to keep you under observation for a couple of days. You're lucky. It could have been much worse. Stephanie scoffed. Yeah, lucky. The doctor ignored her and turned to me. Now, do you have your insurance details? We'll need to process. Stephanie cut him off. Oh, he has insurance, but we're not paying extra for unnecessary crap. Unnecessary? She shrugged like this was no big deal. I mean, come on, Alex, you're gonna heal. It's not like you're dying. Why should we waste money on stuff you don't really need? The doctor glanced between us, visibly uncomfortable. Meanwhile, I was too stunned to speak. I was in a hospital bed, in pain, lucky to be alive. And my wife was nickel and diming my recovery? And then she dropped the final bombshell. You're not even worth the hospital bill, Alex. She laughed, actually laughed, shaking her head like I was some kind of idiot. Seriously, why should I waste my money on you? I just stared at her. And in that moment, something inside me broke. I had been married to this woman for 3 years. 3 years of paying for everything, covering all the bills, spoiling her with gifts. I had always thought she loved me for me. But now, I realized she only ever saw me as a walking ATM. I could have yelled at her. I could have called her out for the cold-hearted snake she was. But I didn't. I just smiled. A small, tired, pain-filled smile. You're right, Stephanie. She blinked. Wait, what? You shouldn't waste your money on me. She looked pleased with herself. She thought I was finally getting it. What she didn't realize? I had just decided that she wasn't worth another second of my time. I lay there in that hospital bed, staring at the ceiling. My ribs ached, my shoulder throbbed, my head was spinning. But none of that compared to the gut-wrenching realization that the woman I had married never actually cared about me. She didn't love me. She loved what I provided, the house, the vacations, the financial security. But me? I was replaceable. And she had just said it out loud. You're not even worth the hospital bill. That night, as Stephanie sat in the corner of the hospital room scrolling on her phone, I decided on something. I wouldn't argue. I wouldn't fight. I wouldn't even call her out. Instead, I'd let her believe she had won. So the next morning, when she finally looked up from Instagram long enough to see I was awake, I forced a small, weak smile. You were right, Stephanie. No point wasting money on unnecessary treatments. Her lips curled in satisfaction. Good. Glad we're on the same page. She thought I had finally learned my place. She thought I was too weak to fight back. But what she didn't know, I had just decided that she was no longer my wife. When I was discharged from the hospital, Stephanie didn't even pick me up. She sent an Uber. I sat in the back seat, watching the city lights blur past. I felt the stitches in my side pull with every breath. My left arm was still in a sling. But none of that mattered. Because in my right hand, I held my phone, and I was about to make the most important calls of my life. I want a divorce. Understood? Do you want to start with a separation? No. I want a clean break. She gets nothing more than what's legally required. My lawyer was silent for a moment. This is about what happened in the hospital, isn't it? I exhaled sharply. She made it clear how she feels about me. Now I'm making it clear how I feel about her. Divorce process started. Stephanie had no idea. Let her keep scrolling through Instagram, thinking everything was fine. Stephanie was on my health insurance. I had put her on my premium plan when we got married because I wanted her to have the best coverage. That ends today. I need to remove my spouse from my health insurance plan, effective immediately. HR confirmed it would be processed within the week. She wouldn't know until she actually needed it. Over the next few days, I made subtle but crucial changes. All shared accounts, closed. All credit cards under my name, canceled. My direct deposit, sent to a separate account she didn't have access to. She wanted to treat me like I was worthless. Let's see how she liked it when I stopped funding her lifestyle. It took about a week before Stephanie noticed something was off. She came home one evening, shopping bags in hand, and flopped onto the couch. Hey Alex, my card got declined at Nordstrom today. What's up with that? I was sitting at the kitchen table, flipping through some paperwork. I didn't even look up. Oh. Yeah, I had to cancel that card. She sat up straight. Cancel? Why? Didn't think you'd need it anymore. Her brows furrowed. Well, I do. Reactivate it. I finally looked up at her. No. Her mouth fell open slightly. Excuse me? I leaned back in my chair studying her. You said I wasn't even worth a hospital bill, right? So why should I waste my money on you? Her face twisted in irritation. Oh my God, you're being so dramatic. That was just a joke. I just smiled. Yeah, funny joke, huh? And then I stood up, grabbed my keys, and walked out. She had no idea I was heading straight to my lawyer's office to finalize the divorce papers. The thing about Stephanie is that she had always taken my kindness for granted. She never even considered the idea that I could stop supporting her. That was her biggest mistake. For the next few weeks, I continued living my life as if nothing had changed. I still came home every evening. I still let her talk about her day, mostly online shopping and brunch. I still played the role of the quiet husband. But behind the scenes, the divorce papers were finalized. All our joint finances had been separated. Her health insurance, officially canceled. She had no idea that I was just waiting for her to crash and burn. A few weeks later, Stephanie started noticing things were off. It started with small inconveniences. She tried to order Uber Eats on my old credit card. It declined. She went to pay for a spa day. Her membership had been revoked. She found out the gas bill was unpaid because it was in her name now. And then she finally confronted me. Alex, why is all my stuff getting canceled? I looked up from my laptop, acting genuinely confused. What do you mean? I mean my credit card doesn't work. The bills are past due, and she hesitated, and my gym membership got revoked. What's going on? I shrugged. Oh, I just figured we should start being more careful with money. She rolled her eyes. You're acting like we're broke. We're fine. I smiled. I'm fine. The way her eyes flickered in confusion, priceless. What the hell is that supposed to mean? Just saying, I don't think I should waste my money on unnecessary things anymore. Her face twisted. You're still mad about the hospital bill? I just smiled and went back to my laptop. She huffed and stormed out. She still thought she could control me. She still thought I was playing some petty revenge game. She had no idea that I had already cut her off completely. A few weeks later, I got home to find Stephanie pacing the living room, phone in hand. She looked genuinely stressed. Alex, something's wrong. I dropped my keys on the counter. What now? She exhaled sharply. I just tried to refill my prescription at the pharmacy and they said my insurance isn't active. I stared at her. And? She blinked. And, I need my medication, Alex. What happened to our plan? I tilted my head slightly. Oh, I had you removed from my insurance a while ago. Her jaw dropped. What? Why? I crossed my arms. Because you made it clear I wasn't worth wasting money on. She looked completely frozen. Alex, you can't be serious. I leaned in slightly. No, Stephanie, I've never been more serious in my life. For the first time since the hospital, she looked nervous. And I loved it. Over the next week, Stephanie's panic increased. She tried to book a dentist appointment, canceled. She tried to refill another prescription, denied. She tried to reactivate her insurance, found out she had to pay for it herself now. But the best part? She had no money. All those years of using my credit cards, spending my money, and relying on me? She never bothered saving anything. And now? She was completely helpless. But I wasn't done yet. Stephanie's entitlement kept her blind to reality. Even as she struggled to get basic things covered, even as her cards declined and her bills stacked up, even as her doctor refused to see her without insurance, she still thought she could win. She still believed I'd come crawling back. But then, she got a brutal wake-up call. I was at work when my phone started buzzing like crazy. Missed calls. Stephanie. Voicemails. New 3. My eyebrows lifted. She hadn't been this desperate since, well, ever. Curious. I let it buzz for a while before finally picking up. Stephanie. Her voice hit me like a train. Alex, oh my God, I'm at the ER. I need you. I'm in pain. I sat back in my chair. Oh, what happened? I don't know. It's my stomach. It hurts so bad they think it might be my appendix. I made a thoughtful noise. That sounds serious. It is. Alex, I need you to come. Now. Why? There was silence. She stammered. Because I need you to sign something. There it is. I tapped my fingers on my desk. Wait, why would I need to sign anything? Because I don't have insurance. I could barely contain my smirk. That's a problem. Alex, please. She was desperate now. They won't operate unless I pay up front. They're saying it could be thousands of dollars. Damn, that's rough. You're my husband, I sighed. Am I? She froze. I let the silence stretch before I spoke again. Stephanie, you made it clear that spending money on me was a waste. So tell me, why should I waste my money on you? I could hear her breathing hard. Alex, I didn't mean it. You did. There was nothing but silence on the line. Find another way, Stephanie. I'm done. And then, I hung up. For the next few days, I got updates from mutual friends. Stephanie had to call her parents, who refused to pay for her surgery. She had to take out a loan just to cover the hospital costs. She was drowning in debt overnight. And the best part? She now knew what it felt like to be seen as not worth the hospital bill. Poetic, isn't it? After I hung up on Stephanie that night, I expected some kind of desperate attempt to get me back on her side. And I was right. The first few days, dozens of calls, texts, and voicemails. After I blocked her number, she started calling from unknown numbers. When that didn't work, she showed up at my workplace. I was leaving the office one evening when I saw her leaning against my car. She looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, messy hair, barely put together, a look of complete desperation. Good. Now she knows what it feels like to be helpless. She straightened up when she saw me. Alex, thank God. I just want to talk. I didn't stop walking. I have nothing to say to you. She hurried after me, voice shaking. Alex, please. I lost everything. I was wrong, okay? I finally turned to face her. Wrong about what exactly? She swallowed hard. About what I said at the hospital. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, refresh my memory. What was it you said? Her lips trembled. I said you weren't worth the hospital bill. That. Alex, I didn't mean it. I held up a hand, cutting her off. No, Stephanie, you meant it. You meant every damn word. She went silent. And now, you're in the exact same position. But the difference? I leaned in slightly. I didn't abandon you. You abandoned me first. Her eyes welled with tears. Please, Alex, I have nothing. I'm drowning in debt. I tilted my head. Did you ever stop to think about what would have happened if the roles were reversed? She opened her mouth, then closed it, because we both knew the answer. I turned to walk away. She grabbed my arm. Please, Alex, just give me another chance. I looked down at her hand on my sleeve. You made your bed, Stephanie. Now lie in it. And then? I pulled my arm away and walked to my car. She stood there, shaking, watching me leave. The last thing I heard as I drove off, "Alex, please." The divorce was finalized within the month. Stephanie was buried in hospital debt. She had to move back in with her parents, who weren't happy to have her. I was completely free. A few months later, I was out at dinner with some friends when someone brought up Stephanie. "Hey, have you heard from your ex?" I shrugged. "Not really." "Why?" Oh, she's been telling people you ruined her life." I chuckled. "No, she did that to herself." And honestly, I had never felt more at peace. In today's Reddit story, "You're just a wallet," my stepdaughter laughed, mocking me for thinking I was family. "My real dad is better than you." I just nodded and stopped paying. The day she had to call her deadbeat dad for rent money, she ended up crying and begging me instead. I never expected my stepdaughter to see me as her real father. I knew from the beginning that I was stepping into a complicated situation when I married my wife, Julia. She had a daughter, Ava, from her previous relationship, and I was more than willing to love and support them both. I was ready for the usual growing pains of blended families. The awkwardness, the slow trust building, the hesitation. But what I wasn't ready for: being treated like a walking ATM. From the moment Julia and I got serious, I made it very clear that I wasn't just marrying her. I was committing to Ava too. I paid for her school tuition. I took her to sports practice. I taught her how to drive. I saved up to help her with college. I was at every recital, game, and event. Her real dad? Not a single birthday card. Not a single call on Christmas. Not a dime in child support. Yet despite me being the one who was always there, Ava idolized him. I told myself it was just a kid's blind love for a parent, that maybe one day she'd see who truly cared for her. But as the years went by, things only got worse. Ava never missed a chance to remind me that I wasn't her real dad. If I asked her to do chores, "You're not my dad, don't tell me what to do." If I tried to give her advice, "I'll ask my real dad instead." If I told her she couldn't do something, she'd run to Julia, who would immediately defend her. "She's just being a teenager, honey. Don't take it personally, she's still adjusting. It's just a phase, she'll grow out of it." Years passed. Ava never grew out of it. And Julia, she always had an excuse. One night, I tried to have a serious conversation with Julia. "She treats me like a stranger, Julia. I've done everything for her, and she still refuses to acknowledge me as a father figure." Julia sighed. "She doesn't mean it, Will. She's just struggling with identity issues. Her real dad wasn't there for her, and that left a wound." That word stuck with me. Real. I took a deep breath. I get that. But I can't keep giving my all when I get nothing in return. It's exhausting. Julia frowned. "She loves you, in her own way." I looked at her carefully. "Are you sure?" Julia hesitated. For the first time. And that's when a terrible thought hit me. What if she married me, not because she loved me, but because she needed someone to provide for her and Ava? It was a thought I had never allowed myself to consider before. But that night, I couldn't shake it. It happened on a random afternoon. I had just come home from work early and was passing by Ava's room when I heard her laughing with her friends, and then I heard something that made my stomach drop. "No, he's not my real dad. He's just a wallet." Silence. Then another voice, one of her friends, giggled. "Damn, girl." Ava continued, completely unaware that I was standing just outside the door. "I don't even know why he tries so hard. My real dad is so much cooler. Once I move out, I'm never talking to him again." Laughter. Cold, cruel laughter. I felt physically sick. I walked away. Not because I didn't want to confront her. Oh, I did. But because I suddenly realized, what would be the point? I had spent years sacrificing, supporting, loving this girl. And to her, I was nothing but a paycheck. I walked straight to the kitchen where Julia was washing dishes. "I just heard Ava call me just a wallet to her friends," I said, my voice eerily calm. Julia turned around, startled. "What? No, she wouldn't." She did. For the first time in my life, I saw guilt flash across Julia's face. She opened her mouth, probably to offer another one of her justifications. But I was done. "I've taken care of her for years, Julia, and she's already planning to cut me off the moment she doesn't need me anymore." Julia looked away. That hesitation again. "She's just a kid." I stared at her. "You really think that's an excuse?" She didn't answer. I don't know what was worse, the fact that Ava said it, Or the fact that Julia didn't fight back when I told her? That silence from my wife? That was my answer. She knew Ava saw me as nothing but a bank account, and instead of correcting it, she let it happen. That was when I realized something that made my stomach turn. Maybe Ava wasn't the only one who saw me as just a wallet. Looking back, I started noticing all the little red flags I had ignored over the years. Julia always encouraged me to pay for everything, but when I asked if Ava should get a part-time job, she would shut it down. Whenever I tried to set financial boundaries, Julia would guilt-trip me. She never once tried to discipline Ava for her ungratefulness. She always acted like things would get better, but never made an effort to change them. And the worst part? I realized I didn't know if Julia would have ever married me if I wasn't financially stable. That thought made my chest tighten. Because what if I was just an investment? After that day, I stopped going out of my way for Ava. I wasn't cruel, I just stopped trying to win her over. But Ava? She didn't even notice. She kept spending my money like it was infinite. She started asking for bigger allowances. She wanted a new car because her old one was embarrassing. She started browsing expensive colleges without a care in the world. And when I suggested she apply for scholarships or get a part-time job, she laughed. Why would I do that? That's what you're for. Julia, who was sitting beside her at the dinner table, just sighed. Ava, be nice. Not Ava, that's unacceptable. Not Ava, apologize. Just be nice. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just Ava's fault. Julia let this happen, and if I stayed quiet, it would never stop. That night, I sat Julia down. You need to stop enabling this. Julia frowned. Will, I told you, she's just immature. I shook my head. No, she's entitled. There's a difference. Julia sighed. What do you want me to do? She's a teenager. She's figuring herself out. I gave her a hard look. No, she's already figured it out. She knows exactly what she's doing. Julia bit her lip. You're making too big of a deal out of this. I clenched my jaw. Am I? Then tell me this. If I lost my job tomorrow and couldn't provide for you and Ava, would you still be here? Silence. A long, guilt-ridden silence. She opened her mouth, then closed it. And I knew. She couldn't even lie to me. After that, I made up my mind. I wasn't gonna fight. I wasn't gonna argue. I was simply gonna give her exactly what she wanted. She said I was just a wallet? Fine. Then I'd close the damn wallet and let her see how much her real dad cared about her when I was gone. That night, after my argument with Julia, I made the final decision. No more discussions. No more excuses. No more being treated like an ATM. Ava thought I was just a wallet? Fine. Wallet's closed. At first, Ava didn't even notice. She still went out with her friends like nothing had changed. She still swiped the credit card I had given her. She still thought she had control. Then, one afternoon, the first crack appeared. She stormed into the living room, face red with fury. Well, my card got declined. Fix it. I didn't even look up from my laptop. No. She blinked. What? I finally turned to her, calm as ever. I canceled it. She stared at me, processing. Then she lost it, screaming about how unfair I was, calling me selfish and controlling, accusing me of ruining her life. Julia ran in, alarmed. What's going on? Ava spun around, jabbing a finger toward me. He canceled my card. Julia's eyes widened, then she turned to me, confused. Will, why would you do that? I met her gaze, unblinking. Because Ava made it clear I'm just a wallet, so I decided to act like one. And wallets don't open themselves. Silence. Julia shifted uncomfortably. Ava clenched her fists. I don't need you. My real dad will help me. I smirked. Good, call him. For the next few days, Ava was in full denial. She strutted around the house like nothing was wrong. She told her friends it was just a misunderstanding. She was so sure her biological dad would step up. Then came the phone call. I was in the kitchen when she called him. Dad, I need help with rent. Pause. Then I heard his lazy, dismissive voice through the phone. Rent? Kid, I barely got money for myself. Ava stiffened. Wait, what? Her hands shook. But you said you'd always be there for me. And then, he laughed. I was just saying that. You didn't actually believe it, did you? Ava turned pale. You don't mean that. Listen, kid, I don't got time for this. Ask your stepdad. That's his job, ain't it? And just like that, he hung up. Ava sat there staring at her phone like it had just betrayed her. Her biological dad had abandoned her. Her credit card was gone. Her friends who once loved shopping with her stopped answering her texts. Her perfect little bubble had burst. I walked past the kitchen and saw her still gripping the phone, eyes wide with shock. She was finally realizing the truth, and for the first time in her entire life, she had no one left to save her. Ava had spent years living in a fantasy. She thought she could treat me like garbage and still get everything she wanted. She thought her biological father was her safety net. She thought her mother would always defend her. Now, that fantasy was crumbling. And soon, even Julia, her biggest defender, was about to realize just how badly she had failed her. After her dad hung up, Ava just sat there, not moving, not speaking, just staring at the phone like she was waiting for it to ring again. It didn't. Then, without a word, she got up and stormed off to her room. I expected her to start another tantrum, another outburst. Instead, for the first time, there was just silence. And Julia? She looked shaken. That night, Julia and I sat on opposite sides of the bed. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Finally, she sighed. I never thought he'd really turn his back on her like that. I turned to look at her. Really? Because I did. She didn't argue. She just rubbed her temples, looking exhausted. I thought I was protecting her. I thought, if I kept the peace, things would eventually get better. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. No, Julia, you weren't protecting her. You were enabling her. She flinched. I sighed. She had a choice. She could have had a father who actually cared about her. She could have had a man who never left, who paid for everything, who showed up. But she chose to spit on that. Julia's voice was barely above a whisper. Because I let her. I didn't say anything, because she was right. Julia had always excused Ava's behavior. She defended her, shielded her, softened the consequences, and now, her daughter was completely alone. And this time, Julia couldn't fix it. Tears welled up in her eyes. I should have stopped her. I exhaled slowly. Yeah, you should have. Julia wiped her face and finally looked at me. You were right to cut her off. For the first time in our entire marriage, Julia finally saw it. And for the first time, she wasn't standing in the way. Over the next few weeks, Ava spiraled. Her landlord sent an eviction warning. She begged her friends for money. They ghosted her. Her old job wouldn't take her back. She was broke, abandoned, and completely out of options. And finally, she cracked. One evening, I was working in my office when I heard a soft knock on the door. I already knew who it was. I opened it to find Ava standing there, looking like a shadow of the girl she once was. Her face was pale. Her eyes were puffy from crying. She looked smaller, weaker, like reality had finally broken her. She swallowed hard. Can we talk? I leaned against the doorframe. Talk about what? She hesitated. Then, in a voice I had never heard from her before, soft, shaking, almost childlike, she whispered, I'm sorry. Ava took a deep breath, struggling to find the words. I didn't mean what I said before. I was stupid. I was selfish. I took you for granted. I stayed silent. You were always there for me. You showed up. You paid for everything. You treated me like a real dad. Her voice cracked. And I treated you like nothing. She looked down, ashamed. I was wrong, and now I don't know what to do. Then she looked up at me, desperation in her eyes. Please, I need help. I took a long breath, staring at her. For the first time in years, Ava was truly vulnerable. No fake bravado, no entitlement, just pure, raw desperation. But me, I wasn't desperate. I had already moved on. I sighed. Ava, do you know what a wallet does when it's empty? She blinked, confused. I took a slow breath. It closes. Then I shut the door in her face. And this time, I didn't pick up when she called again. Ava never called again after that night. At least, not from her number. A week later, Julia's phone rang while we were having dinner. She glanced at the screen, her expression tightening. It's Ava? I kept eating. You gonna answer? Julia hesitated. Then, for the first time in her life, she let it ring. And that was when I knew she had finally let go. A few days later, I got an email from Ava. I know you probably won't read this, but I miss you. I was stupid. I see that now. I lost everything, and it's all my fault. I don't know what to do. Please, just talk to me. I stared at the screen for a moment. Then, I deleted it. No response. No closure. Nothing. Because sometimes the best revenge is simply moving on. What happened to Ava? She lost her apartment. She had to move into a tiny shared rental with 2 strangers. She worked a minimum wage job. She finally understood what it felt like to have nothing. And me, I still had my home. I still had my career. I still had my wife. And the best part, I never had to hear Ava's voice again.